yeah, one of our values. We won't sell anything that we wouldn't feed directly to our own family.
Does that make you feel really proud?
Yeah, it does. It does. It makes me feel happy that I'm improving the land. I would say that we're just trying to work with the land and not work against it. And that's one of the important things to me, is keeping our food miles down and being able to provide for our local community.
Well, thank you so much for letting us come out here
Mhm.
and see things. It's so cute back here. When we were driving up, like, really, I don't know, it doesn't look like a homestead. And I was like, well, you don't know what's behind. So it's also different from Indiana.
Right.
Indiana is so barren of trees, at least where we're at anyway.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do is basically turn a forest into a homestead.
Okay.
So most of it is forest. All of this was actually woods before 4 years ago. So we built this house in 2019, right before the pandemic.
Okay.
So we finished September of 2019. Son was born November 2019, and then the pandemic hit in 2020. So it was kind of perfect timing for everything. And so we cut down all the trees ourselves, built the house as much as we could by ourselves.
Okay.
And kind of started setting this up. So I started with the chicken coop here.
Okay, this was your first build.
Yep, so that's our first build.
Wow.
And that's actually all out of materials that came out of the dumpster from building our house.
Really?
Yep.
What a way to repurpose. So you've got extra.
Yep, so there's egg collection here. There's a couple eggs I've still got to get. And then I've got more egg collection on this side.
So how many chickens total do you have then?
I've got about 35 chickens in this coop.
Okay. And it looks like you got some mixed breeds. So you got Americana, maybe some ISA Browns.
I've got Americana. I've got just some barnyard mixes in here too.
Okay.
There's some olive acres. There's a couple Morans in here that haven't started laying yet. A Delaware, I think she's on eggs right now. So yeah, she's not a nice lady, but she's a good mama.
So are you hatching?
No, she's just on all of the eggs that laid today. So
Okay.
she's a broody chicken, and there's no way to break her out of being broody. So
Okay, you've tried.
we've tried.
Okay.
Yep. She's an old chicken though. She's about 8 years old.
Oh,
so she doesn't.
lay?
No, she doesn't lay. She's just kind of
The grandma.
the grandma chicken. Yeah. If ever somebody goes away and hides and comes back with chicks, she'll steal chicks. So, and she just likes to raise babies.
Okay. Well,
So.
I mean, I guess you can't complain about that.
Nope. Nope.
So do you have being out here in the woods?
Mm-hmm. And that's our train.
We read this sign that said high-speed trains. We're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
and that'd be a high-speed train. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so that's the Amtrak. That's the line that goes between Detroit and Chicago.
Wow. I don't know if you think it's cool though.
Well, it only goes through like 3 times a day, so it doesn't bother us.
Okay.
So if it was going through like every hour on the hour, I'd probably be a little more upset, but
Yeah.
it's not that bad. You saw it was gone in like 5
it.
seconds.
Yeah, I'd probably get used to it. So with having chickens, I see that you've got hot wire.
Yep.
Run up top. But having them kind of out in the woods, do you have predator pressure on your chickens? How does that work?
Well, up here near the house, I don't really have any predator pressure because of our livestock guardian dog, Atticus.
Okay.
Just his presence kind of keeps him away from the house.
Okay.
Before we had him, we would get raccoons and possums in the spring and fall.
Okay.
And that was our big predator. We didn't have any hawk issues near the house because, I mean, we're kind of in the woods.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of open area for them. A lot of the times these chickens are free ranging as well, so they're all over the yard. We've just got them shut up for today.
Okay.
So that way you could maybe see some of them because they'll go all the way out.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do they brood up in the trees?
Some of them will.
Really?
Yeah, some of them will get up there and then they're hard to get back into their coop.
Let's see if I can go or.
Yep, so these are our wethers. We got these all a few weeks ago, so they're in our quarantine pen here. So that's why they're in this little pen. So we're just, these guys are all going for meat.
Okay.
So this guy will probably raise up for a few more months because he's just little. These ones, that white one is ready to go pretty much. This guy is almost ready to go, and then that guy should be ready in December.
Okay. So is that for your personal family's consumption?
This will be sold at market.
Okay.
Hmm.
Very cool. And that's the only goat herd that you have. You don't have any breeding stock at the moment, or do you?
Breeding stock is in this large pen here. So you can see some of them right over
Oh,
here.
I totally just missed them.
Yep, so this is Leah. She's one of our 100% boars.
Okay.
We're trying to get to 100% boar with all of our goats.
Any particular reason?
They're heavier boned. They give a lot more meat than any other breed that I've had. We've thought about doing like boar Nubian cross, as long as we could get a really good Nubian buck, because boar bucks are really expensive.
Yeah.
So, and you've got to rotate them like every 2 years.
Okay.
So
Because of productivity or aggression or what?
for your genetics.
Okay.
Because you don't want them interbreeding too much, and if you're keeping your good females, then you're going to want to get rid of your male.
If they came from him.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I was raised on a cattle farm, and we were always joked that it's called line breeding when it works, but inbreeding when it doesn't work.
Right, right.
So how long have they been in this lot then? Because it looks like they've been out here for a while. They've kind of took some brambles down.
So this lot is about a year and a half old. So this fence wasn't here a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And this is what they've done. You can see I've kind of topped some of the smaller trees.
Okay.
And that's what I'm doing through this whole thing, is letting them eat it down in the spring. And then when there's nothing left, I'll do chop and drop. So I'll just start cutting down trees, and they will eat those trees that fall.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to do is turn this forest into a silvopasture. So
keeping the bigger bark trees.
Yep.
And dropping the little ones.
Yep, keeping the larger oaks, maples. Don't know about the cherries yet. Probably won't keep those. And I want to get some more nut variety trees, like hickories, hazelnuts, chestnuts, that type of thing in here. And I would like to see, basically pasture with spots of shade.
Okay.
So but this,
you almost wanna, deforest it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then turn it. Okay.
Yep, pretty much anything that's less than 15 to 18 inches thick is going to go in here.
Okay.
We're just going to keep the big ones.
And you mentioned wanting to get like some nut varieties. Is there any particular reason why you want those?
I just want to have the land as productive as possible.
Okay.
So if we can be harvesting nuts out of trees that normally wouldn't give them, like if we kept cherries or sassafras, that's all the better.
For your personal consumption or for, okay.
Yep, personal consumption.
Not for market necessarily.
No, I don't think we would be able to get enough out of here.
Okay.
If we could, I would absolutely bring them to market, but I just don't think we'll have enough.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to create a food forest for our family.
I love that. So what are these are different trees. So what are these? Did you plant these?
Nope. These are actually all going to come down. So a lot of these are sassafras that are ready to come down. Some of them in there are cherry. Some of them are just autumn olive bushes, that type of thing.
50 acres here.
Yep, we have 50 acres here. We're only using about 5.
Wow.
So we're not using very much of it.
Yeah.
Next year we'll be using more. So this fence is about 4 acres right now. So that's the majority of what we're using. This goes all the way to the train track and then wraps all the way back around to the house. Okay. So they've got a pretty big area here for 5 goats right now. This field here we just tilled up, and we're going to be planting clover and probably some orchard grass, and then seeing what else comes up next year. But this is where we're going to be running our chicken tractors next year.
Okay.
So it was a really lumpy, hard to use field. And about 2 years ago, it looked just like this.
Really?
Yep.
So this is 2023. You bought this in 2019.
Right? Well, we built our house in 2019.
Okay.
But this is all of Cassie's family's land.
Okay.
So her family has been here forever.
Okay. So this looked like that just 2 years ago.
Yep.
What did you do?
So we had a we had a bobcat come in and basically just push everything out.
Okay.
So this was just all mechanical, pushing all the trees into one pile, and we burned them in the center there. So we just burned the fire pit probably 2 months ago.
Okay.
And then we just finished tilling it a couple days ago. It hasn't even rained since we tilled.
Wow.
The goal was to flatten this out so that way I can drag chicken tractors without chickens escaping from underneath.
So that's pretty sandy soil.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's not super fertile soil, and I'm hoping the chickens will change that.
Absolutely.
We got a couple soil tests from MSU, so we know what we're starting with.
What was it?
It was really high acid soil.
Okay.
There's almost no phosphorus in it, which is great for having chickens on it.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to run chickens on it for a good long time. And nitrogen was like kind of medium. And I can show you the full tests.
That's okay. I'm
But-
just curious. Really cool that you designated a spot specifically for your chickens.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be excited to see that. So is that where you have them now?
Yep, back there is where
Okay.
we have them now. So, and I'm kind of in construction mode back there right now too. So we're expanding how many chicken tractors we're having. So we started with 4 our first year, which was last year. And we ran with 4 pretty much all year.
Okay.
So we were doing 150 chickens a month, every month from April through October is what we were planning on.
Okay.
Well, right in the middle of the year, we realized that's not enough because we're selling out pretty much every week and a half, 2 weeks at market.
Yeah.
So we need to do more like 300 birds a month.
Fresh chicken's a hot commodity everywhere, I feel like.
Yep. So we are trying to expand. We're building 3 more chicken tractors right now.
What type of chicken tractor are you building now?
So right now I'm just kind of improving on my previous design, which is based off of Darby Simpson's
Okay.
original design, which is the cattle panel hoop house idea. And this is our egg mobile. So this is all of our egg layers that we do on pasture.
Okay.
So the ones that we do up by the house, those ones are kind of for personal consumption. And then if we have any extras, we'll sell them as rainbow eggs.
Okay.
So, but those are really free range.
Are you able to market the rainbow eggs at a higher price?
Yes.
That's really
Yep. We put them in a different egg carton. So we'll put them in a hexagonal egg carton. It's called the Incredible Egg Carton. Looks really pretty.
That's really cool.
Yep.
What a way to do it.
So, and then these guys here, we move them about every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on what kind of pressure they put on the land.
Okay.
So, and the reason I wanted to do them this way is because I have limited pasture
Right.
for egg layers, but I can run that fencing into the forest and have them be out in the woods.
Yeah. So the fence is on all the time.
This one's not hot right now.
Okay. But you've got your IntelliShock.
Yep.
We love our IntelliShock. Or loved, I guess.
Yep, it works really good. The only problems I've had is grounding.
Yeah.
Yep, because it needs like 3 6-foot ground rods, and those are hard to move all the time.
Yeah.
So one thing I came up with is I use a 30-foot roll of chain link fence,
Okay.
and I will just drag that to where I need it. And the chain link fence touches the ground enough to where it kind of mimics what you would be getting out of the ground rods. So you're getting more surface touch than
Right.
you are deep, but it still gives you a good shock.
That's interesting. What a cool concept to do, like innovative.
And it's just easier to move around too.
Yeah. Use what you have and
Mhm.
break your back while doing it.
Yep.
So these guys will move when?
These guys are going to be moving here probably in another 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
So
Doing
they,
it really scratched up.
mhm. Yep, because this is going to be, all chicken field next year. So this part was flat enough that we didn't really need to till it.
Okay.
So I figured I would just put the egg layers in here, till that field, and then it's kind of all done at the same time.
Okay.
So I can throw some seed behind these guys, and it's all tilled up for the
Yeah.
clover.
That's a good idea.
So I'm hoping to throw a bunch of clover in right before a rain and have it be good.
Okay. And is this where they were before? Where were they before this?
So before this, they were actually over in another field over there.
Okay, you moved them all the way.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so I try to move them pretty far away from where they were previously. Otherwise, they'll end up walking back.
Oh, you had
So-
an issue with that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Not a lot of them do it, but enough do it to where it's a pain.
And your geese do a good job guarding?
They do.
Okay.
They do.
Are these a mating pair?
No.
Okay.
No, these are both males.
Okay.
So they were raised with these chickens.
Okay.
So they kind of view themselves as part of the flock.
Yeah.
They do a really good job. I think most of it is their presence and maybe 10% of it is their attitude.
Mhm.
But we had them stuck in the eggmobile for about a day, and when they were in there, a hawk got one of our chickens. But as soon as they're out, no hawks at all.
Really?
Hmm.
We had, when we farmed, we had an African guard goose, and her name is Penelope. And we watched her fight a hawk off one day. I mean, they'll get vicious for you. It's
Yep.
really nice.
Hmm.
Okay.
These guys, I've never seen them get very aggressive. They're kind of babies.
Oh, okay. But like you said, their noise, I'm sure, just does a lot to keep
Yep.
them away, the honking.
Yeah, and they do a lot of flapping, and
Mhm.
they just look scary.
Yeah, and they are bigger than a hawk, so I mean,
Mhm.
I could see why a hawk would want to be deterred.
Yep. Yeah, and these guys are pretty young. They're only about 8 months old.
Okay.
So same as all the chickens. They're just a little bit younger than the chickens.
So then you've got your broilers over here.
Yep, broilers are over here. So you can see the whole field is kind of construction zone right now.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. It's big and heavy enough to where the wind isn't going to blow it away. It's just a little too heavy to move by hand. But you can move it with a small lawn tractor like I've got here.
Okay.
So, and some of the improvements I've made on the new ones that I'm making is I'm doing 2x6 instead of 2x4 around the edges.
Okay. What for? What difference does that make?
So the difference is just it's a little sturdier.
Okay.
So I won't have to do as much bracing around the bottom. I have had the 2x4s break as I'm pulling them, and I've had to repair them.
Okay.
So I wanted something a little more sturdy. Because with the lawn tractor, it's just a little one, but it's still powerful enough to where if the tractor gets caught on something, it's gonna break the wood.
Okay. And do you think that the weight of the cattle can add to that too?
I think it does a little bit.
Okay.
It's mainly like
The bumps.
the bumps, and like if there's a root or something that I've missed, it'll get caught on. I won't notice it right away, and it'll just break instead of giving.
Okay.
So these chickens right here are the ones that are going to go in the rest of these chicken tractors. They
Okay.
just got out of the brooder about 5 days ago,
Okay.
and you can see there's a bunch of them in there, and they need to be spread out between these 4 chicken
Are
tractors.
these your replacement egg layers?
Nope, these are all broilers.
Oh, okay. What breed?
These are Freedom Ranger color yields.
Okay. How do you feel about having the Freedom Ranger breed versus the Cornish over there?
Yep,
Turkeys
those are
do too.
turkeys. Yep, so I actually like them better than Cornish. They do.
You raised Cornish before, I guess.
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually raised them for half of this year.
Okay.
So our first Freedom Rangers that are going to butcher are in those 3 tractors right
Okay.
there. But I like them much better than I like the Cornish cross,
Okay.
mainly because they're a little hardier. They don't seem to die for no reason. You know, when you find one, you're like, oh, I can autopsy this and I know why it passed.
Okay.
For a Cornish cross, you come out and it's just had a heart attack or something, because they're designed to grow fast. They're designed to grow in factory farming type of situations. But the Freedom Ranger takes a lot more from the land. So they will mow the grass down almost like a turkey does. Whereas a Cornish cross, especially when they get bigger, they're just not interested.
Right.
They're just interested in lazing about.
So you got turkeys.
Yep.
When are you processing these right before Thanksgiving? What are we? We just hit October.
Yep. So these are going to be processed right before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
I'm doing it 2 different ways. So we're doing deposits for the turkeys that are going to be processed on the farm, and those are going to be processed Monday, the week of Thanksgiving, and
Okay.
delivered on Tuesday, so they're going to be fresh.
Okay.
All of the ones I don't get deposits for by 2 weeks before Thanksgiving are going to go to our processor to be processed and then sold frozen. So
Okay.
those are going to be sold at the market the week before Thanksgiving, and then any leftovers are going to be sold for like Christmas.
That's a really what made you change that model and do it that way?
Well, I really wanted to provide a special experience for people, and getting a fresh bird on Thanksgiving is special, but this is also our first year doing it. So we're still building trust with the community. We're still kind of building our brand. So I wanted to have enough to where if people are really interested, we can sell them all. But if they're not, I wanted to have a backup to where I don't have, 15 turkeys that I have to eat myself.
Yeah. It's a lot of ground turkey.
It is.
Very cool. So you are established with your local farmers market then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we've got 2 markets that we go to. We go to the Kalamazoo Farmers Market downtown, and then we do the Texas Township Farmers Market, which is more on the south side of where we are.
Okay.
So Texas Township is 6 miles away, Kalamazoo is 9 miles away.
Okay. Very close.
Very close, yeah.
Right.
And that's one of the important things to me is keeping our food miles down and kind of being able to provide for our local community. We don't want to reach out too far. We don't really want to get to the point to where we're selling butcher box type things and shipping it across the state because we want to be the local farmer.
Okay. Do you have many farmers like you guys at your farmers market, or is it?
There's a couple. I think I'm the only one really specializing in pasture raised poultry, but there's a lot that do pasture raised pork. There's a lot that do grass fed beef. There's a lot that do lamb, things like that. And usually all of those farms do some pasture-raised poultry, but they'll sell only in like whole birds or things like that, or they'll have an even more limited supply than I've got. So I'm really the one that's trying to do a lot of pasture-raised poultry.
Okay, very cool.
So these guys are our first batch of Freedom Ranger color yields.
Okay.
And they are going to be ready for butcher here in about 9 days. They're actually ready for butcher now, but that was as fast as I could get the butcher date.
Okay. Are you still having a hard time with butcher dates around here?
Not so much for birds during the summer, but as we get into the fall, less people are doing it. So I've really got to have enough to make it worth it for my processor to open up their bird line.
How far away is your processor?
They're pretty close. They're about 20 miles away.
Okay.
So not bad at all.
And they do poultry?
They do poultry.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are there many? So you said that you have to have enough. Do
Mm-hmm.
they have a cap then?
I've got to have at least 100 birds.
Wow. Okay.
So 100 birds at a time, which usually isn't a problem for me. But as these guys get bigger, they eat more and more.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to get them off to butcher before they get too big.
Yes.
So these guys are about as big as I want them to be.
Okay. And it'll be all 3 tractors.
Yep, all 3 tractors. They're all the same age. So, and these guys, as you can see, they tear up the land. They were moved yesterday, and it looks like a moonscape in there. Yep, that's 24 hours. So they really tear it up.
But you've obviously seen really good growth.
Really, really good growth. And I'm actually pretty pleased with how much they're tearing it up and how much manure they're laying, because we're going to rest this field next year.
Okay.
And I want to get as much nitrogen in it as I can, because I'm going to lime it in the spring and bring that pH up to where it needs to be, right around 7, and then see what the nitrogen does.
Yeah.
And see if I can maybe hay this field. Because it's a little...
Some really nice grass over here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's nice and thick.
Yeah.
You could graze cattle on that.
Yep. And it wasn't like this when I started this field. This field was basically a sand lot filled with bramble dewberry. And like wild strawberry and things like that. It did not look good.
And you've only had poultry out here?
I've only had poultry out here. I might be able to find one spot where there's never been a chicken tractor out here.
Okay.
And I believe it's right next to where the turkeys are.
Oh, where it's kind of...
Yep, so you can see right here, this line here has never really seen a chicken tractor. So this is primarily what we had in this field, was this nasty dewberry to where it'll tear up your ankles.
Yeah.
And just a variety of other like small stuff. But as soon as we started running the chickens out here, it started growing the grass. And you can see where I've got the gaps between the chicken tractors where they've been.
Isn't that so crazy? Think how you would think, just off your head, if you weren't a farmer, that the spots that are brown had animals on them.
Yep.
And the spots that are green didn't.
Yep.
But it's the exact opposite.
It's the exact opposite.
How cool. Does that make you feel really proud?
Yeah, it does. It does. It makes me feel happy that I'm improving the land. You know, we're putting it into our food while we're doing it.
Yeah. Now, have you seeded this area?
Nope.
This is all native.
This is all native. This is all whatever was here. Just improving the soil itself has created a better habitat for what we want instead of what we don't want.
That's really cool.
So, and that's why I'm excited to, you know, rest it next year, put some lime on it, bring the pH up to where it needs to be, and then see what happens.
That's really nice.
So, and we're going to do the same thing with that field. That one we're going to have to plant a little bit because it's been tilled. This one had never been tilled.
Right.
So
you just cut the trees down.
There were actually no trees in this one.
Okay.
This one was pretty bare.
Did you
and
even get somebody logged it?
there was actually a fire about 60 years ago. So the train track over there threw a spark.
Okay.
And it burned this field and that field behind this one. There were trees in it at the time, just like everywhere else out here, and it just created these natural fields.
How interesting.
And then from there, my wife's grandfather just would brush hog it and just kind of keep it as a field. I think he had potatoes out here at one point that he did for the family, but that's pretty much it. And then this is my chuck wagon over here. There's where all the food and water is kept.
Okay.
So that trailer is actually a repurposed dune buggy trailer.
Okay.
So it was made as like a dune buggy hauler. And then my grandpa took a bunch of scrap and made it into a regular trailer, and I ended up buying it from him for this purpose. I get about 1,000 pounds of chicken food a week and put it in all of these containers here.
Okay.
And then about once a week or every 5 days or so, I'll have to fill up this tote here.
Okay, and on the back.
Yep.
So what do you feed then?
So our feed is a locally ground kind of custom mix for us. So you can see it here. It is corn and soy, because we can't really get corn and soy free around here, not without breaking the bank, but it is all local. So this is all GMO free, and it's made by a mill that's 20 miles away, and all of their grain is sourced from within 10 miles of that mill.
Okay.
So it's about as local as you can get.
Yeah, that's nice. Keeping your footprint as small as possible.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we want to put as few gallons of diesel into it as we can.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
But everything here has been in my wife's family since before the railroad track was here.
So when I was researching you guys, I noticed how well your website looks. Your marketing, you do it, the turkeys a specific way. Your marketing seems to be there's a lot of forethought into your marketing. So how does your marketing plan work into your farming plan?
Yeah, so basically we just want to be as open, honest, and transparent as we can be with our community in order to build trust. That's what we've been doing for the last couple of years, is just saying, hey, this is what we do. You know, this is how we do it. We know our prices are higher than some of your more conventionally raised chicken, and here's why. And we've gotten really good receptivity from the public about that. We're also just trying to build a recognizable brand, keeping everything simple and clean, like with our logo and everything. And we want to...
logo on your hat?
It is, yeah.
Just a chicken. That's awesome.
Yep. That's what we do is chickens, so I figured we'll just make a chicken the logo. Yeah. So, and just say, hey, this is the Bates family, this is what we're doing, and this is where we are.
I love that a lot. And you seem to have a lot of heart into it for keeping things as local as possible, building the trust with your community. Do you see that receptivity from your community?
Yes.
Hi, it's cicada.
Yeah, there's a lot of nature out here. So.
But do you see that receptivity?
Yes. Yeah, so, well, we're just selling more and more every month. So I think the word of mouth is spreading about what we do and, you know, the quality of product that we have. And the main reason I think that we're getting that is because we're so open and because we care about the quality so much. You know, one of our values that we have on our website and that we follow religiously is we won't sell anything that we wouldn't feed directly to our own family. And that's, you know, our 1-year-old and our 3-year-old.
Right.
We don't care about anything more than that.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of what is shown in our eggs and in our meat.
Do you use the rest of your woods just for leisure?
Pretty much. So we do hunt out here.
Okay.
So we'll hunt out here actually this month and then next month. But a lot of this is trails that the family walks on. And we bought my wife's grandmother a golf cart. So that's what some of these tracks are here.
So they're so close.
Yep. So my wife's mother is through the woods that way.
Okay.
Her grandmother is through the woods that way, and her sister lives right next to her grandmother. So we're all on the 50 acres. We've got no neighbors that are really next to us as far as land. It's only across the street neighbors because we've got the whole 50 acres here. There's a cornfield over there, and there's the Amtrak that way. So
Very cool.
it's kind of our little family compound.
Yeah, that's awesome. You don't have to go on any roads to get to Grandma's house. When the kids get older, they can just hike on to Grandma's house.
Yep. Yeah, we're actually going to be putting some posts and signs up to where it's like Omi's house that way, Gigi's house that way for the kids. So that way, as they get older, they can go.
That's awesome. What
hmm
a cool experience for a kid to grow up
Yeah.
being able to.
hmm
That's awesome. As you get the experience to tour and show off your farm, is there anything that comes to mind when you're like, this is an important piece to my farm, or I really think that everybody should know this?
I would say that we're just trying to work with the land and not work against it. So everything that we're doing, we want to do without chemical additives. We want to do, as naturally as possible. So we're just using animal pressure to do that.
Yeah. And that's just your whole mission?
Yep.
Just fix the land?
Yep. Fix the land, provide food security for my family and my local community. And that's about it.
So this is your brooder?
Yep. This is the brooder. So this is probably the last year we're going to use this brooder like this, but this is how I started out.
Okay.
So basically I took one of my chicken tractors and made it into a brooder with some greenhouse plastic just to hold the heat in the springtime. So, and you can go in there if you want. So these are all the Freedom Ranger color yields.
Okay. Oh, it is nice and warm in here.
Yep, it gets pretty warm. So I've got two tarps on here. I had the original tarp on top, which is just a regular silver tarp. And then I got a vinyl tarp to go over it so that it wouldn't rip.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty strong tarp. I would like a white one, but they don't really make white ones. So this does get a little hot in the summertime. So what I'm able to do is take this whole back window off, which I actually need to do right now anyway, because it's getting hot in there.
Okay.
And then I can turn that fan on high and get a lot of the heat out.
Oh yeah, you can feel it.
So, and I'll probably shut those lights off for a couple hours too.
And it looks like you've got them actually in a box. It's not even that they're not with the cattle panel. There's plywood all around there.
Yep.
To keep from ground predators, I assume.
Well, mainly to keep the chickens in.
Okay.
So because they're so small, they find a way out pretty much no matter what you do. So I had to put an 8-foot by 8-foot box in there. And then I used the tarp to get rid of all of the bedding when they move out.
Okay.
So every batch gets new bedding. What I'll do is I will take the front part of that box off, and I'll actually lift this whole thing up. So the whole building will lift up, and then I'll grab the lawn tractor and hook it to the tarp, and I'll just pull the tarp straight out to the field. And then all of this will go to compost. And then for the next batch, they get a new tarp and they get new bedding. And that's the best way that I can keep this clean. So that way there's no contamination between batches, that type of thing.
Okay.
And then this will all get blown out with an air hose because chickens create dust, that type of thing. So the brooder is good, but it's also kind of a pain.
Yeah. So
Just like brooding any kind of chickens, yeah.
So you're going to upgrade next year?
Yep, we're going to upgrade, and what we're going to do is kind of a multi-purpose greenhouse. So right here were these two cherry trees. These cherry trees are going to come out next month, and I'm putting a 20 by 40 greenhouse there. And that's where the egg layers are going to be for the winter time on deep bedding. And then in the springtime, when the egg layers move out, that'll become an area where I can set up multiple brooders. So I can have multiple smaller brooders and maybe do chicken batches every 2 weeks instead of every month. And that way I can keep up with demand and also be a little more flexible on what cuts I'm out of and what cuts I'm not.
So when you speak about being flexible on demand and what your inventory looks like, do you have storage?
Yeah, we do. So we've got some freezers in the garage.
Okay.
That's licensed space from MDARD. We just keep all of our frozen chicken there.
Okay.
So we've got 4 freezers.
Okay.
Mhm.
You say licensed.
Yep.
Is that a health department
Yep.
thing?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's the Michigan Department of Agriculture
Okay.
and Rural Development. So they had somebody come out and basically just certify that, hey, these freezers are good and it's safe to store your food there.
Okay.
So I got a food establishment license for that.
Interesting. Okay. It's funny how the requirements vary from
From state to state.
state to
Yeah.
state, county to county.
Michigan is pretty strict. Like, I can't sell any of the chicken I butcher at home at the market
At all.
at all.
You can only sell off farm.
Well, I can only sell if it's been processed at a licensed facility that's either USDA or licensed by MDARD
So you can't process your own chickens and sell that meat at all.
at all.
Really?
The only way I can do it is if people buy the chickens beforehand.
So
so-
you buy like the
yeah.
live animal.
Yep, so you have to buy the live animal, and then I can butcher it for you for free. You own it at that point. But I can't say, go butcher one of those chickens and bring it to market tomorrow and sell it. That's illegal.
So even if they like prepaid for it, you can't just take it with you to market and be like, oh, they paid for it yesterday.
You can do that if
Okay.
they prepay,
If they prepay.
but
Okay.
I can't sell to somebody who didn't already want that chicken.
And just because he's looking at me, this is
This is Atticus. So he's an Anatolian Shepherd. He's about 1 year and 2 months old.
you are a big boy.
Yep. Hey, buddy. And I used some old feed bags as insulation on that shed
Okay.
this past year, and he's decided he didn't like them.
He wanted to pull him out, huh?
Yeah, so he pulled most of them off.
Hi, buddy. How are you? Well, I see you. Can I pet you? Hi.
Good job, buddy.
Oh, okay. That's he's like, it's a new smell. I don't appreciate that.
He's really good with our kids. He
Good.
loves our kids. It's really funny because if I give him a stick, he's like, thanks, but I have many sticks. You didn't need to give me that. But if my son, Logan, gives him a stick, he'll jump around and act like it's the best thing in the world. He just likes to see my son laugh.
That's awesome.
So he's a good boy.
Family.
Yep.
Your homestead.
Yep, he's a good boy. He's still,
And this is his whole area.
yep, this is his area. Sometimes we'll switch him and the goats. So we'll put the goats back in here.
Okay.
So like during the winter, a lot of the time they're gonna be in here.
Okay.
Just so they're not stripping bark off trees that I want to keep during the winter time.
Yep.
In here, the trees, I don't really care about.
Okay.
So this is kind of our sacrifice paddock.
Okay.
So, but I am planning on having them out in the big pasture over winter a little more than we did last year. Because what I'm going to be doing is throwing hay bales out in between the trees that I've cut down to kind of give a little seed.
Okay.
Have them spread the seed out a little bit.
Does he ever hang out with the chickens or with the goats, or is he just separate?
He's separate for now. He's still in his puppy phase, so he still wants to play, and he views the goats kind of as dogs. So he'll get a little nippy. So we've still got to train him quite a bit.
Okay.
So not his fault. He just needs a little extra time. I think by the time he's about 2.5, 3 years old, he'll be really ready to hang out and be calm.
Okay.
He doesn't have the temperament as a puppy to handle it all by himself.
Look at him though. He's so happy.
Mm-hmm. He's a good boy.
He's like, what is that? Hi.
Yep. He's a pretty good size.
He is a good size. And it seems so cool that the practices are almost the same, yet very different. Like the overall idea is to help the land and use animals to do that and eat some good food.
Yep.
But the way that you're doing that, you telling me that you don't care about these trees, I'm like, oh. But in Indiana, we like want to save every single tree that we have.
Yep.
And out here, you're like, but I have 1 billion trees.
Yeah. There's so many trees out here that I'm actually trying to take some down.
Right.
So I do want the big ones to stay,
Mhm.
and generally the goats will leave those alone, or the big ones will be able to survive the goat pressure. For the most part, I need grass. I need
Yeah.
grassland because I can't really do any other small ruminants out here other than goats.
Mhm.
And, you know, goats, I love them, but you've got to have Jurassic Park fencing to keep them in.
Right.
So
So do you have plans for bigger ruminants in the future? Animals in general?
I'm hoping that I can at least run a family milk cow
Okay.
out on this 4 acres here.
Okay.
But
Out this way.
yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I'm hoping to transform it into a silvo pasture that will support a family milk cow calf pair.
Okay.
After that, I could probably run a couple steer out here after the chickens have transformed some of the pastures. But really, out of the 50 acres, we've only got 6 or 7 acres of pasture.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to create more if we want to do more.
Right. Yeah. Have you thought about pigs at all?
I have thought about pigs. My family is a little less excited about pigs than I am, just because their experience has been the smell.
Oh.
So,
oh man, do they have some new revelations coming on with pigs on pasture?
yep.
That was my favorite part. We did a farm tour right after she was born. She was like 3 weeks old. And the biggest thing is I was like, there's 20 pigs right here. And everybody's like, what? Yeah, there's 20 pigs right here. And it smells just like you're outside.
Yep.
It's awesome. Pigs would enjoy it. Our only issue when we did lease some land, put some pigs on woods, they went a little feral. So we had mangalistas, and we found that they're still just wild enough that they went hog wild, and found out why that was an expression. Because wow, yeah. But otherwise, it was really cool to see what they did too. So
something I'd like to try, and I probably will do a limited amount of pigs next year in this pasture here. And what I'll do is
where the goats are now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'll probably follow the fenced in area and then just do electro wire or electro netting and just kind of move down the fence line. So every week we'll move to a different 100 by 100 area, that type of thing.
Then they have perimeter fencing.
Yep.
But if they get out, unlike us, you're not chasing them for 2 miles over a course of 48 hours.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the other thing that I worry about. Like goats, if they get out, cool, people love goats. Right. But we are not exactly in a rural area. We're in the suburbs here.
Yeah.
So we've got,
I mean, for goodness sakes, you got Amtrak going next to your place.
We've got Amtrak right next to us. We've got a big neighborhood, less than an eighth of a mile away. And we've got some other big neighborhoods right down there. So we're like the only farm in the area. So I really don't want to create ill will by having pigs get out.
That's a good point.
That's why I would have them in this 4 acre pasture and create mini pastures within so that they don't, tear up one spot and then leave everything else the way that it is. Yeah. Because that's what pigs generally do.
And it's good. That's what they're meant to do.
Yep.
But you don't want them tearing up something that you don't want them tearing up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're planning on, maybe doing a couple, seeing how it goes, basically just to get the land to do what I want it to do. Yeah. And then we'll see about taking them to market.
Right.
I'm sure I could sell a couple of them. We just kind of want to regenerate the land as much as we can. We're going to be here forever. We never plan on moving, so this is what we want for our grandkids out here. So we care about it a lot. But
that's really cool. Wait, let's stop on that. You want your grandkids out here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So this isn't just the fact that this is your wife's family. This is your family, your future family. There's a lot of dedication and heart into what you're doing. Yep.
Yeah, we never want this land to move out of the family. We want it to be basically our family sanctuary.
And especially as a suburb comes up around you.
Exactly, because it would be very easy to sell out and have a subdivision pop up in here. It's too beautiful for that. Yeah. We really want it to be our family's land that they can raise their families on if they want. Yeah. So we want to preserve it for that and make it as good as we can while we're here.
If anybody is in the Kalamazoo area and they want to find you, how do they do that?
They can get right on the internet and go to www.batesfamilyhomestead.com so they can buy straight from there, and all of our social media accounts are attached to it.
Okay, very cool. Well, we'll put that link in the description. And just thank you so much for letting us come out and see it and giving us a tour. And you got a rooster out down there?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, we've got too many roosters in that pen, so some of the bottom of the rung roosters get out so they don't get beat up.